This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications. This is KHQA. It's your news now.
And this is Saturday, August the 30th, and you have entered Overtime, our labor of sports love on this, appropriately enough, named Holiday Weekend. I caution you, however, that said phrase, Holiday Weekend, is a misnomer around here. There was exactly zero downtime for Tri-State athletes, and for us, for that matter, over the hectic 48-hour run. Now, over the next 30 minutes, I will catch you up on all of the offerings from the diamond, the volleyball court, and the pitch. But our first order of business is putting a bow on the first all-in week of high school football. And we've saved our best matchup, at least on paper, for last this week. Coming off an inspired and incredibly gritty win in sweltering conditions on the road last Saturday at MICDS, the Hannibal Pirates sought to put that momentum to good use against their arch nemesis in looking for their first win over the powerhouse Helias Crusaders since 2011. Boy, that sounded good on paper. The Crusaders, though, when playing at Atkins Stadium, always really tough to deal with, and they were certainly that again tonight. Another Saturday night special for them. Even when things went wrong for the Satyrs, they went right. Alex Fadul, bad snap, doesn't matter. 6 yards later, he's into the end zone for the first score of the night. That makes it 7-0 Helias at that point. Hannibal can't get a thing going in this game. The Pirates fumble this ball, Helias recovers, and that leads to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. 252 yards of total offense in the first quarter. Hale Henches, who is headed, my friends, to Alabama with a touchdown reception. Actually, that's Chase Bexton, I should say, making it 21-0 Helias. Then Malik Davis jumps in. It's 28-0 Helias. It just snowballed on the poor Hannibal Pirates and never let up. Fadul again rushing for another touchdown to make it 35-0. Just a bad night for the Hannibal Pirates in Crusader country as this one ends up being ugly. Final count sees Helias win 52-14. Yet another unfortunate effort for the Pirates at the expense of the Helias Crusaders. Let's talk some better news. Let's take you to Illinois. The opener for the Sockies, their first Sangmo game against a non-Sangmo opponent. That would be River Valley. Varna Midland in this one. Lakin Lobby had a big first half. Tough run up the middle inside the 10. A few plays later, it's Pittsfield punching it in. Lobby fumbles, but big Brady Duke is there to recover it for the touchdown. 7-6 Sockies at this point. It was the Corbin Personette show after that. He sparked the Sockies run with a batted down pass right there. Then the big fella going to do some work, crushing the offensive backfield with a tackle for loss. And even better stuff from Personette. Sensational 7 worthy right here. 66-yard fumble return, scoop and score. The big fella can rumble. And that made it 14-6 Sockies. And that was really the spark in this ball game Pittsfield would need. The Sockies then began to flex their muscles through the air this time. Quarterback Quinn Leahy had himself a ball game right here. This 38-yard touchdown strike finds the hands of Matt Robinson. And that, my friends, extends the lead, but we're not done quite yet. Not by a long shot. Corbin Personette back into the highlight reel and back into your living room on this one. Into the backfield. Oh, the poor Varna Midland quarterback got to know Mr. Corbin Personette very personally today. And then more from Quinn Leahy. This time the 17-yard touchdown pass to Dusty Winchin right there to make it 28-6. This game only lasted into the third quarter when Varna Midland had to forfeit due to a lack of healthy players. Pittsfield graciously accepted and moved on with a 28-6 victory. Their first as a non-hyphenated program in a long time. Their first for the new skipper, Kurt Simonson, so great start there. Speaking of new skippers, we got a new one in Rushville Industry as well. Mr. John Hebb making his debut today. Game that was supposed to take place last night. His team taking on Havana. Kind of a mixed bag on his first defensive possession for Mr. Hebb. This was the good Gabe Williams with a tackle for loss, but the Ducks would score, take a 6-0 lead. Rushville's second offensive possession, though, a dandy. 23-yard scamper right here by this fella, Colton Boyd. Get used to that name because he can run, he can punt, and he can do a lot of things well. I mentioned Colton Boyd is if on cue right here on 3rd and long. How about 27 yards of touchdown goodness right there? Nobody catching Boyd. Made it 6-all at that point. The Rushville defense would keep the Ducks hemmed in the rest of the first half, basically with their backs to their end zone for much of that series. I love this kid, this young linebacker, Jacob Kunkel. Remember the name. Just a hit and destroy type of kid. Had himself a big first half in this one. The rest of the Rushville Industry linebackers not too shabby either. Eli Irwin going to come up here with a magnificent strip. And there's Mr. Kunkel right there, Johnny on the spot to recover the fumble. Unfortunately for Rushville Industry, in the first half, they would go 0 for 2 on their next 2 red zone possessions, come up with nothing. We're tied at 6 at the end of the first half. Third quarter, how about some time to get it done? Christian Downs in at quarterback. Colton Boyd about to help him again. His second touchdown of the day. He had 122 yards rushing, makes it 14-6. Then Levi Frank right here coming up with the interception to give the Rushville Rockets a very short field and allow Andrew Charles to add the final touchdown tally of the day. 20-6 is how this would end up as John Hebb gets a victory in his first one at Rushville Industry and gets his first taste of the Beardstown rivalry coming up next week, a game which Rushville will be favored and has a chance to go 2-0 in. So there you have it. Rushville Industry looking very, very good in their debut today under John Hebb. Let's move on now. As you have probably become acutely aware the last 2 weeks, all of these weather delays and heat-related late starts on a Friday night are a sportscaster's worst nightmare. We had a handful of games last night that started or restarted after 9:15, and 2 that either didn't start or restart at all until very, very late. In an effort to do some of those games some justice, we made the decision last night not to shortchange our coverage of those games, and we left our camera guys out in the field figuring we could catch better up with those things tonight. So we began at Flynn Stadium with Quincy High's home opener and their season opener against United Township, which turned out to be a very good game indeed for Rick Little's crew. Already up 10-0 on United Township in this one. How about the defense? Blaine Schluter. Boy, he's a good one on the edge, just the latest in a long line of really good defensive linemen. And then, how about some double handoff action off the wing? Devin Smith, another kid, a rising star for this program who broke out last night. Big run, which would set the Blue Devils up in the red zone and would set up the passing game. George Card, IV, hooking up with Seth Holschlag, his team's leading receiver the last 2 seasons, and he's well on his way this year as well. The big tight end clobbering everybody on his way to the end zone. But Seth Holschlag is not just a one-way player. How about a little sack action from the big fella, now playing middle linebacker, but seemingly lining up all over the defense last night, taking advantage of his skills. Lots of good stuff from the running game last night. How about Brady Brockmiller? Had 99 yards of rushing effort, including a singular touchdown right here. And the Blue Devil offense would keep the Quincy High band drum line in good shape last night because they had to do push-ups for every point scored, and there were a lot of them. Although United Township came up with 14 unanswered points and eventually kind of made this a game late in the ball game. However, just too much of the Blue Devils. Devin Smith just going to do some work coming up right here. He's also going to get a fantastic block at the end of this from Donnie Ruths, and it's going to be the Blue Devils all the way in this one. Great win for them to open the season. Final count 37-14 last night as the Blue Devils took care of their business and looked every bit of the advance hype. Let's take you to Southeast Iowa last night. Fort Madison opening up against West Burlington Notre Dame. I tell you what, this Fort Madison offense is tricky to read and tricky for our photographers to shoot. The inside reverse here to Austin Bruni, though, ends up being a touchdown and giving the Hounds a 6-0 lead. However, one of the best athletes in the entire state of Iowa would answer that as wide receiver Xavier Williams. Great catch right here off the Brett Reedy pass. That made it 7-6 West Burlington Notre Dame. How about Fort Madison, though, coming back in this one? Clayton Poe doing some work right there, moving things up. And then it's Cam Cooper going to hook up with Austin Bruni. Again, Bruni with over 100 yards rushing, one of 3 backs with 100 yards rushing. But here it's his receiving prowess that sets the table right here. Big, big gain all the way to pay dirt right there to make it 14-7 in favor of Fort Madison. Bruni not done yet. Going to continue to do wonderful things for this offense. Again, inside reverse, that big Fort Madison offensive line blocking and clearing the way in this game. Cam Cooper is going to make that a touchdown at the end of it, extending the lead out to 22-7. Big lead in the first half for Fort Madison, huge lead in the second half. Both of them got away as West Burlington Notre Dame shows off all that offensive skill position talent in this one. And I tell you what, I mentioned Xavier Williams. That kid is an awesome football player, awesome basketball player, track and field, you name it, the kid can do it. And he certainly did it last night. As you will see this touchdown right here, Fort Madison loses a heartbreaker last night in the final seconds. 45-42 was your final. So let's talk, now that week number 2 is officially in the books, about some of the big storylines. Obviously, we talked about coaching debuts last night, and today, John Hebb, Kurt Simonson, both very, very good. Last night, it was West Central and Alex Ebbing getting the job done. So 3 wins for 3 new guys. That's certainly big. Also, we want to talk a little bit about some teams that have been a long way away from wins. Last night, 3 of them got victories. Actually, 4 of them got victories last night. Mark Twain ended what was a 17-game losing streak with a high-quality win over a Paris team a lot of people, myself included, hold in high regard and simply punched Paris in the mouth. Mark Twain, you've got the debut last night of Bushnell West Prairie, which got their first win in I think 3 years for West Prairie, and for Bushnell, I think it's been 2 years, longer than that. I mean, obviously just some phenomenal stuff right there as Roy Gully Jr., or Roy Gully III, I should say, gets his first coaching win since taking over as a head coach. Also, want to talk about the Clarence Cannon Conference. The big win last night, Macon coming from behind against a very good Monroe City team, rallying for 17 unanswered points to get that done last night. And it was the outstanding wide receiver, Brendan Watts, with a pair of touchdown receptions to help that happen. He might be the best individual player in tri-state football right now. He showed it last night. And then we had 2 guys last night score 5 touchdowns, including Austin Kerfman from Illini West, the big fullback who just kind of ran roughshod last night over Rockford Christian. Also, Brett Threckold steps up big time for Sal Shelby last night. They lose Trace Windsor, maybe for the season, some people have speculated. Sal Shelby loses him. As Rob Wilt called it last night, next man up. His team steps up, and it is a big-time delivery last night from his quarterback, Brett Threckold, to help his team rally back to beat Louisiana and score 52 points in the offing. Great stuff there as well. Well, a setback tonight to tell you about in the pro football aspirations of former Quincy Notre Dame star Jack Cornell, who failed to make the Oakland Raiders 53-man roster on the final cut today of the season. This is the second year Jack has gotten a visit from the dreaded Turk and has been left in limbo over the course of this very pivotal weekend. However, as we saw last year, this may not be more than a temporary setback. Jack is now eligible to be claimed by any NFL team, and his versatility in being able to play 4 positions along the offensive line may actually allow that to happen. If he does, in fact, clear waivers, though, and not get claimed by anyone, I believe Jack is able to return to the Raiders in the same capacity he was a year ago as perhaps a member of their practice squad. And we are just getting warmed up here on the Overtime. I've got soccer, I've got softball, and I've got volleyball, and I've got it coming your way next.
You're watching KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications.
And welcome back to Overtime, everybody. These are the weekends we love to do this. 48 hours of nothing but work, but it sure is fun. Well, amid all the hubbub over the start of the full-fledged football season, this was also a huge weekend on two fronts for soccer in the Gem City. In fact, we finally got our first look at the much-touted Quincy High Blue Devil soccer squad in their own Midwest Classic over the last 48 hours. And what an exacting look it would turn out to be given the level of competition presented Matt Longo's team. Today, Columbia Rockbridge, a team that is perennially well-respected in mid-Missouri. The Bruins trying to do some things in a scoreless tie. Look at Riley Roth, though, getting through everybody and then getting a foul right here. And that would prove pivotal. That would set up a restart right here. Devin Watson going to put it up. I believe it's Brett Landwehr who gets the first header on it. We know it's Ben Merrow who gets the second. And that, my friends, is a doubleheader that was doubly good for the Blue Devils because that gave them a 1-0 lead, and it was critical in this game. Check it out one more time. Great header back to back right here, and Miro, who plays in the back line, can do it all for the Blue Devils, spotting his team a 1-0 lead. And the Blue Devils this season, if they get a 1-0 lead, are going to be ridiculously tough to beat because the back line and their goalkeeper are both nails. Speaking of their keeper, that would be Mr. Tyler Grost, who made a huge save right here to keep this thing preserved as a 1-0 victory, and that is how it goes down. The Blue Devils play 3 games this weekend. They win all 3 against high-caliber competition. In fact, I'll prove it to you. They also beat Jeff City Helias today 3-0. Thought we'd have some highlights of this game for you. I got there at halftime. The Quincy High Blue Devils had already put 3 on the board and kind of called off the Dogs early. So they are, in fact, that good. The Blue Devils taking care of business, as you saw this weekend, with 3 wins. Glenbrook North was a huge win on Friday as well. That team can flat go. Let's talk Quincy Notre Dame across town today. Scoreless into the second with Danville in the semifinals of their tournament. Cameron Griffin, speaking of keepers, what a play right here to keep this thing scoreless. More to come from here. Cooper Reese off the corner restart. Aubrey Reese thinks he has a header goal, but the guy playing the column right there kicks it away. We go to overtime. We go to PKs instantly with a scoreless tie. Right off the bat, Logan Fry kicks for Q&D, and he is stymied right there by Mr. Griffin. The other way, Danville makes it a 1-0 lead, knocking in their first PK. Second kicker, Cooper Reese right here, unlucky off the post. And all of a sudden, Danville's lead grows to 2-0, and that is sizable. It's up to Aubrey Reese to keep this thing alive, and Aubrey Reese would answer the bell. Wow, beautiful kick from him right there. The one guy who could stymie Griffin, but Danville just wouldn't miss in this one. Made it 3-1 at that point. All the pressure then on Mac Little. He did his level best right here, but Cameron Griffin, again with a spectacular save, guesses right and saves the day as Q&D is forced into the third place bracket, and Danville gets the victory. In that third place bracket, Greg Reese's Raiders get the win today. It is the aforementioned Aubrey Reese with the golden goal in this one, as they beat a very good Maine South team. Your winner, though, on the weekend, and would have been a great story. Wish I could have got back out and saw the Crimsons improve to 4-0 on the season. They beat Maine South, and then they beat that Danville team and actually scored on that Griffin kid. 1-0 your final. The Crimsons now 4-0 on the season. Had been hearing a lot of scuttlebutt about how good they're going to be this year. They seem to be living up to all of that advanced billing and more in the early going. Good for Jacksonville. Let's talk a little volleyball today. Quincy High School playing a pair at home. The first one against Sacred Heart Griffin. A little spotty early on, but Sarah Erke trying to do some things right here, getting her team the side out. Unfortunately, the Devils struggled in serve receive early in this game. I give you case in point not once, but twice, as they gave up 2 relatively easy aces right here and gave the first game momentum to Sacred Heart Griffin, trying to fight their way back. How about Sarah Erke again? Serving for the ace, trying to get her team back. Then Jordan Holtmeyer, the youngster, showing out for the Blue Devils in game number 1. In this one, unfortunately, Quincy High never found its traction in game 1, nor in game 3. They lose in 3 sets today to a very good Sacred Heart Griffin team. And they bounce back and lose again today in the late game as well. Let's take a look at that scoreboard against Normal West, losing 22-25, 25-23, or excuse me, 25-22, 23-25, 12-25. So Quincy High falls twice today. That doesn't happen very often in the early season. Also, Quincy Notre Dame today ends up winning the Rockford East Invitational. We believe that championship game came against Freeport, though we didn't get confirmation on the order of the teams they beat today. What we do know is that Quincy Notre Dame, in doing this and winning this championship, claimed the 700th victory of Coach O's career. So congratulations to Rich Meyer. It has been a long and and very successful run in a number of different venues. And Rich Meyer, class guy, good to see him get that victory, another landmark in his already Hall of Fame career. Got some softball to talk about today. Championship game of the Monroe City Tournament. Knox County and Brookfield going at it. Brookfield, the defending champs, and they're looking every bit of it. New pitcher, same story. Morgan Ewing is good. Nasty on the hill. Perfect today through 6 1/3. Struck out 9 in the offing. Bottom of the first. Knox County seeing some things happen. Megan Kearns against them right here. For Brookfield, get the RBI rip to make it 1-0. Then it's Jacqueline Waydert. I tell you what, Paige Couch is going to make an outstanding play on this over the shoulders to make it just a sacrifice fly and not worse than that. However, at that point, Lauren Dale is down 2-0 and trying to pitch her way out of a jam, and it was a rather sizable one at that point, as Lauren Dale does get the strikeout here, but things would go awry again later in this game. 4th inning now. Just turned ugly as 4 runs go on the board for Brookfield. They're never really going to look back in this ball game. Knox County was undefeated coming in. First loss of the season. Brookfield still undefeated, and they've got a big showdown coming up on Thursday with a really good Highland squad. That should be a dandy as well. Brookfield every bit the deal in that tournament. Let's talk some more scores. Monroe City today, a winner, actually the 3rd place game at Monroe City. Clark County a winner over Canton 4-3. Jenna Bergman gets the win on the hill. That's a big win for Clark County over a good Canton team. There's the Monroe City score I was looking for. The host team bounces back after a rough morning and beats up on Marshall 9-1 to take 5th place. And in the 7th place game, big comeback from Marion County down to North Shelby. Marion County rallies back and gets the victory. 8-4 was your final there. Also have some golf scores to pass along today at the Monrose Invitational. Always tough at Gibson Woods. Morton, your number 1 team. Quincy Notre Dame, the highest local team, finishing 4th. Also, it would be Drew Eaton, your highest of 3 local finishers in the medalist category. Drew Eaton finishes 8th today with a 73. Good score on that course. Graham Conrad of Macomb fires a 75, and William Eversman of QD with a 76 there as well. Hey, we've got more overtime coming up next, including the return of the Con Communications Connection. If you're a Macomb Bomber football fan, this one's for you. Coming up next. Yes, please. There's 2 of them. The College Crunch will begin in earnest for us next weekend with all kinds of college football, but we have a smattering of scores to pass along today. Women's college soccer, the Culver-Stockton Lady Wildcats get on it today, beating Monmouth at home 2-1. Stephanie Adelman with the golden goal in that one. On the men's side today, the news not so good for HLG, losing to Mount Mercy. 3-1 is your final. And over the course of the weekend in college volleyball, the Culver-Stockton women go 2-2 in their tournament, so congratulations to them. Not a bad start to their season. Well, with a new school year of athletic fun already underway, we are now able to embark on a new season of the Con Communication Connection right here every Saturday night, which is really your chance to pick the single best play of every month. Every Saturday, we'll give you our best nominee of the week to consider, and then at the end of each month, you can go to our website at KHQA.com and vote for your favorite, and simply by voting online, you become eligible to be randomly drawn for a nice prize package from Con Communications. And we're going to kick things off this fall with a nifty offering from the Macomb Bomber passing game. Last night in Bartonville against Limestone, looking for a first down right here. This is quarterback Jacob Poor going to the air and trying to make something happen, and he would find Corby Foxhall between three guys. What a great snare by the big fella right there. Certainly bears a second look in this one as Corby Foxhall and Jacob Poor are going to make this happen. Great young pass-catch combination for the Bombers, who unfortunately lost at Bartonville Limestone last night, but a tough place to open their season. They made a nice comeback in the fourth quarter, but they lost by 7 last night. Great catch, though, by Corby Foxhall. The first of 4 offerings you'll have a chance to vote on at the end of this month. Please remember to do so. And speaking of football, one last time to go through our newly reshuffled power ratings, and last night shuffled things pretty significantly. But we have some debuts into the top 12 this week, including Mark Twain after that big win over Paris, and undefeated West Central, although a big game looming for Alex Ebbing as he goes to his alma mater, coaches against his mentor, Tom Little, coming up on Friday night. That should be fun. Monroe City lost this week, but tell you what, they are a top 10 team, no doubt about it. Macon just sort of ripped it back away. No, Jacksonville suffered a loss. They dropped from 4 to 8 this week. Triopia moving up this week. Hannibal drops from number 2 to number 6 after tonight's loss to Helias. But again, consider the competition there. Centralia moves on up to number 5 this week. And your new top 4 looks thusly. It's Illini West at the 4 spot, Quincy High at 3, Macon coming off that big win over Monroe City on Friday night. And Camp Point Central, after a rough first half, well, they proved they're the number 1 team, rallying back behind the youngster Brody Bivens. They did it this week, and they did it pretty well without Bobby Kelt, so that says an awful lot about the depth in that offensive backfield. And we'll come back with more overtime after this.